Before we dive in, viewer discretion is advised. This content is for entertainment purposes.
One question is asked. The room goes silent, and everything suddenly spirals out of control. What happens when one of the most powerful women in music walks onto a daytime talk show expecting celebration, but instead feels cornered, questioned, and quietly judged on live television? The lights are bright, the audience is smiling, and no one yet realizes they are seconds away from a moment that will ripple across the internet for weeks. Studio hums with that familiar daytime energy. Applause swells as Rihanna steps out, dressed effortlessly sharp, confidence stitched into every step. She flashes a smile that's half warmth, half armor. This isn't her first interview, not even close. She's handled stadiums, scandals, global scrutiny. A couch and a panel shouldn't rattle her. At least, that's what everyone assumes. Whoopi Goldberg greets her first, warm and grounded, setting the tone the audience expects: celebratory, respectful, safe. Joy Behar leans back slightly in her chair, eyes sharp behind her glasses, lips curved in a polite smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Sunny Hostin watches closely, hands folded, sensing something unsaid in the air. Sarah Haynes beams, trying to keep things light. Alyssa Farah Griffin nods, already preparing for balance if things tilt. The first few minutes glide by smoothly. Rihanna talks about her latest business move, her evolution, motherhood, the way life reshapes priorities. The audience eats it up. Laughter bubbles. Applause punctuates her sentences. She's relaxed now, shoulders dropping, voice steady. Then Joy leans forward. "So Rihanna," she begins, tone casual but precise, "a lot of people admire your success, your independence. But some critics say you've become untouchable, that you don't really like being questioned anymore." The room stills, not silent, but attentive. Rihanna's smile doesn't disappear. It freezes. "Untouchable." Rihanna repeats softly, tasting the word. Joy shrugs lightly. "I'm just saying, when fans or media challenge you, you sometimes shut it down. Some would call that empowering. Others call it defensive." A murmur ripples through the audience. Rihanna shifts on the couch, crossing one leg over the other. Inside, something tightens. She's heard versions of this before. Strong women always do. Confident becomes cold. Boundaries become attitude. "I don't think setting boundaries is shutting anything down," Rihanna replies, voice calm, measured. "I think it's knowing what you'll accept." Joy nods, but presses. "But when you're a public figure, don't you think you owe people a little access? A little openness to critique?" There it is. The line. Rihanna inhales slowly. Cameras catch the subtle lift of her chest. Whoopi glances sideways at Joy. Sunny's brows knit slightly. "I owe my fans honesty," Rihanna says. "Not entitlement." A louder reaction now, some applause, some gasps. Joy chuckles, half amused. "Well, that sounds nice, but fame comes with a price, doesn't it?" Rihanna turns fully toward Joy now. Her eyes are steady, unblinking. So does disrespect. The temperature shifts. You can feel it through the screen. Sarah shifts in her seat. Alyssa opens her mouth, then closes it, sensing this isn't her moment to jump in. Joy raises her hands slightly. "I'm not being disrespectful. I'm asking what a lot of people think." Rihanna's voice lowers, not softer, but firmer. "A lot of people think strong women should explain themselves more than men ever have to." The audience reacts instantly. Applause breaks out, louder this time. Joy smiles again, but it's tighter now. "You're making this about gender." "No," Rihanna replies. "I'm making it about patterns." Whoopi clears her throat gently, trying to ease the tension. "All right, let's." But Joy isn't done. "You've built an empire, Rihanna. That's incredible. But when you push back like this, don't you worry it alienates people?" Rihanna lets out a small laugh, sharp and humorless. "If someone feels alienated because I won't shrink for them, that's not my burden to carry." The studio erupts. Applause, whistles, scattered cheers. The camera cuts to audience members nodding, others wide-eyed. Social media phones light up in real time, thumbs already flying. Sunny finally steps in, voice calm but pointed. "Joy, I think what Rihanna's saying is that confidence in women is often reframed as arrogance." Joy exhales, leaning back. "I hear that. I just think humility matters." Rihanna doesn't miss a beat. Humility isn't silence. That lands hard. Even Joy pauses. For a moment, no one speaks. The silence is heavy, charged, uncomfortable in that unmistakable live TV way. Producers off-camera shift. A stagehand glances nervously toward the hosts. Whoopi steps forward, voice firm but fair. Rihanna, I appreciate you saying that. A lot of women at home need to hear it. Rihanna nods, but her gaze returns to Joy. There's no anger now, just clarity. I've spent my life being told to be palatable. I'm not here to be palatable. I'm here to be real. Joy studies her, lips pressed together. Fair enough, she says, though the edge hasn't fully left her voice. The segment moves on, but the energy never fully resets. The audience knows it. The hosts feel it. Rihanna feels it most of all. This wasn't just a spicy exchange. It was a line drawn in real time, on a national stage. And as the cameras keep rolling, one thing is already certain. This moment isn't staying in this studio. It's about to explode far beyond it. The conversation moves forward, but it doesn't glide anymore. It limps, weighed down by what was just said. You can feel it in the way the hosts adjust their posture, in the way Rihanna's shoulders stay squared instead of relaxed. The polite rhythm of daytime television has been disrupted, and no one is pretending otherwise. Whoopi tries to steer the ship back to safer waters, asking about Rihanna's creative process, her businesses, her vision. Rihanna answers thoughtfully, eloquently, but there's a new edge beneath her calm. She's present, but guarded now. Every word is chosen with precision, every smile measured. Joy listens, nodding, but her fingers tap lightly against her cue cards. She's not satisfied. The tension between them sits there, unspoken, daring one of them to touch it again. Then Joy does. You talk a lot about control, Joy says, cutting in gently but deliberately. Control over your image, your work, your narrative. Do you ever worry that controlling the narrative too tightly means you're not hearing criticism you might actually need? A low hum rolls through the audience. This isn't curiosity anymore. This is a challenge. Rihanna turns her head slowly. There's no rush now. Criticism isn't the problem, she says. It's the assumption that I'm obligated to absorb it from everyone. Joy tilts her head. But art thrives on feedback. So does ego, Rihanna replies, evenly. A few audience members laugh, then stop when they realize Rihanna isn't joking. Sunny leans in. I think what Rihanna's pointing out is the difference between critique and policing. Joy's eyes flick to Sunny, then back to Rihanna. No one's policing you. Rihanna raises an eyebrow. Then why does it feel like I'm being cross-examined? That hits. Harder than the last line. The word hangs in the air, cross-examined, dragging the exchange out of casual talk show banter and into something sharper, more uncomfortable. Joy lets out a small sigh. Because you're influential. And with influence comes responsibility. Rihanna nods slowly. I agree. That responsibility just doesn't include making myself smaller so people feel more comfortable questioning me. The audience applauds again, louder this time. A woman in the front row mouths yes under her breath. The camera catches it. The internet will, too. Joy smiles, but it's thin. No one asked you to be smaller. History did, Rihanna says quietly. The studio stills again. Even the applause fades faster this time, replaced by silence. Whoopi looks straight ahead, jaw set. Sarah glances between them, eyes wide. Alyssa shifts, sensing the weight of what's being said. Joy leans back, crossing her arms. That feels a bit dramatic. Rihanna doesn't flinch. That's usually how truth sounds to people who don't have to live it. A collective inhale sweeps through the room. This isn't playful tension anymore. This is personal. Sunny steps in quickly. Joy, I think what Rihanna's saying resonates with a lot of women who feel scrutinized in ways men simply aren't. Joy shrugs. I criticize men all the time. Rihanna nods once. And they are called outspoken. I'm called difficult. That lands like a final brick. The audience erupts, applause, cheers, a few gasps. Someone claps too loudly, too long. The energy spikes, electric and volatile. Joy opens her mouth, then closes it. For the first time, she hesitates. Whoopi takes advantage of the pause. Let's take a breath here, she says, voice calm but authoritative. These are important conversations. Rihanna exhales slowly, eyes dropping to her hands for just a second before lifting again. There's emotion there now, not anger, but something deeper. Weariness. Resolve. I didn't come here looking for a fight, she says. But I'm not afraid of one if it means being honest. Joy nods stiffly. Fair. But the word doesn't smooth anything over. If anything, it sharpens the divide. The audience can feel it, the sense that something unresolved is sitting between them, growing heavier by the second. The conversation shifts again, but now every question feels loaded. Every answer feels like it's echoing off the walls. Rihanna remains composed, but the warmth from earlier is gone. She's in control mode now, the version of herself that learned long ago how to stand her ground in rooms that expect her to bend. As the segment nears its end, the applause feels louder, more deliberate. Not just appreciation, support. Solidarity. Joy glances toward the camera, professional smile back in place, but her eyes betray a flicker of frustration. This didn't go the way she expected. She didn't anticipate being pushed back this hard, this publicly. Rihanna rises when the cue comes, exchanging polite goodbyes. She hugs Whoopi, thanks Sunny, nods to Sarah and Alyssa. When she turns to Joy, there's a brief pause, just long enough for everyone to notice. Thank you for the conversation, Rihanna says. Joy nods. Of course. But the tension lingers even as Rihanna walks offstage, applause following her like a wave. Backstage, producers exchange looks. They know what just happened. They know clips are already circulating, captions being written, opinions forming in real time. And out in the world beyond the studio, the conversation has already begun. People choosing sides, replaying moments, asking themselves why that exchange felt so familiar. Because this wasn't just about Rihanna and Joy Behar. It was about power, voice, and what happens when a woman refuses to soften herself for anyone, especially on live television. And the fallout. It's only just beginning. By the time the episode cuts to commercial, the studio air feels heavier, like it's been stirred too hard and hasn't settled yet. Rihanna is already backstage, heels clicking down the hallway, her face calm but unreadable. A producer murmurs that she did great, that the audience loved her. Rihanna nods politely, but her mind is elsewhere. She knows that calm moments on live television are often the most dangerous ones. The quiet seconds after tension, when meaning sinks in and narratives begin to form. Out front, the hosts regroup during the break. Whoopi leans forward, voice low. That went further than expected, she says, not accusatory, just factual. Joy exhales, adjusting her glasses. I wasn't attacking her. Sunny looks at Joy carefully. Intent and impact aren't always the same. Joy bristles slightly. So now I'm the villain. No one said that. Sarah jumps in gently, trying to diffuse. But it was intense. The red light flickers back on. The show resumes. Smiles return, voices soften. The rhythm of daytime TV attempts to reclaim control. But viewers at home can feel it. This isn't reset. It's laid. Every laugh feels slightly forced. Every transition a little rushed. When the episode finally ends, the real moment begins. Within minutes, clips hit social media. Short, sharp edits. Rihanna saying humility isn't silence. Rihanna saying history did. Rihanna staring Joy down with calm, unflinching eyes. Captions explode across screens. She didn't come to play. Rihanna ate that up. Joy crossed a line. Twitter lights up first. Then TikTok. Then Instagram. Commentary floods in from all sides. Fans, critics, commentators, casual viewers who didn't even watch the full episode but feel compelled to weigh in. One clip goes viral faster than the rest. The moment Joy says, "That feels a bit dramatic," followed by Rihanna's quiet, devastating reply. That's usually how truth sounds to people who don't have to live it. Millions of views. Thousands of comments in minutes. Back at the studio, Joy checks her phone between segments. Notifications stack faster than she can read them. Some defend her. Many don't. Words like out of touch and dismissive appear again and again. She sets the phone face down, jaw tight. Rihanna, meanwhile, sits in her car, scrolling silently. Her team watches her closely, waiting for a reaction. She doesn't smile. She doesn't frown. She just absorbs it. They are calling it a takedown, her publicist says carefully. Rihanna shakes her head. I wasn't taking anyone down. No, the publicist agrees. You were standing up. That night, late, Rihanna posts a single Instagram story. No names. No tags. Just black text on a white background. Boundaries are not disrespect. They are survival. Within an hour, it's everywhere. Joy doesn't post anything. Neither does the show. The silence becomes its own statement. The next morning, talk shows dissect the moment. Entertainment panels debate tone versus truth. Some argue Joy was doing her job, asking tough questions. Others say the questions themselves revealed an outdated lens, one that still struggles with women who won't soften their edges to be digestible. A morning news host plays the clip and says, "This felt less like an interview and more like a generational collision." That phrase sticks. Joy, for her part, addresses it indirectly during the next episode. "Conversations can get heated," she says with a practiced smile. "That's what happens when strong opinions meet." It's careful, non-committal, safe, but viewers aren't satisfied. Emails pour in. Comments flood the show's social pages. Some demand an apology. Others demand Joy stand her ground. The divide sharpens. Sunny, during an off-air podcast later that week, speaks more openly. "I think what people saw was a woman refusing to be boxed in. And that makes some people uncomfortable." Whoopi, when asked, keeps it simple. Rihanna spoke her truth. Joy listens to all of it, from a distance. She tells herself she's weathered worse. Decades in media have taught her that storms pass. But this one feels different. This one isn't about a joke that didn't land or a question taken the wrong way. This one feels like a mirror. Rihanna, meanwhile, continues on. She attends an event days later, radiant as ever. Cameras ask about the interview. She smiles politely. "I said what I needed to say," she replies. That's enough. The clip plays again and again. Not just as entertainment, but as a talking point. Women share it with captions like "This is what setting boundaries looks like." Young fans write essays about seeing themselves in Rihanna's composure. Even critics admit, whether they agree or not, that the moment was undeniable. And in quiet moments, away from the cameras, Joy replays it too. Not the applause. Not the backlash. Just the look in Rihanna's eyes when she said she wasn't there to be palatable. That line echoes. Because it wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't performative. It was lived. What started as a routine daytime interview has now become something larger. A cultural flashpoint, a reminder that live television still has the power to reveal fault lines we pretend aren't there. And as the conversation keeps spreading, one question refuses to fade. Was this just a clash of personalities, or a moment when an old standard was finally challenged on a very public stage? The world is still deciding. As the days pass, the moment doesn't cool, it crystallizes. What was once a live exchange becomes a reference point, replayed, quoted, dissected with surgical precision. Entire think pieces bloom overnight, headlines framing the clash as everything from a masterclass in composure to an uncomfortable reminder of how power is questioned when it looks like Rihanna. On The View, the atmosphere subtly shifts. Viewers notice it before the hosts do. Joy is sharper now, more defensive, her jokes landing with a slight edge. Sunny pushes back more often. Whoopi plays referee with firmer hands. The panel feels less like a conversation and more like a negotiation. Behind the scenes, producers field calls. Network execs want reassurance. Advertisers want stability. No one says it outright, but everyone understands. Moments like this draw attention, and attention makes people nervous. Joy finally addresses it more directly during a later episode, responding to a viewer question. "I've always believed in asking tough questions," she says. "If we stop doing that, we stop doing our job." Her voice is steady, but the audience reaction is mixed. Some applause, some silence. It's not the unanimous support she's used to. Online, Rihanna's words continue to travel. A college professor uses the clip in a lecture on media framing. A therapist posts a breakdown of why Rihanna's responses resonated so deeply. Comment sections fill with stories, women recalling times they were labeled difficult for asserting themselves. Rihanna doesn't comment further, but her silence feels intentional, powerful. She lets the moment stand on its own, unedited and unapologetic. At an industry event, a fellow artist pulls her aside and says, "Thank you. You said what a lot of us couldn't." Rihanna smiles softly. We all say it in our own way. Joy, meanwhile, sits with the discomfort longer than she expected. Friends tell her she did nothing wrong. Critics tell her she missed the point. Late one night, she replays the clip again, not to defend herself, but to understand why it struck such a nerve. She notices things she didn't before. The way Rihanna never raised her voice. The way the audience leaned forward. The way the room shifted when certain words were spoken. It wasn't confrontation for the sake of spectacle. It was something more grounded, more intentional. And that realization unsettles her. At a taping weeks later, a different guest brings up boundaries in the public eye. The conversation echoes familiar themes. This time, Joy pauses before speaking. It's brief, barely noticeable, but it's there. Viewers notice that too. Articles begin to frame the clash not as a win or loss, but as a turning point. A reminder that daytime television isn't immune to evolving expectations. That audiences are listening differently now. That composure can be louder than confrontation. Rihanna's team watches the discourse from afar. They know moments like this can define eras if mishandled. But Rihanna remains grounded. I don't want to be a symbol, she tells them. I just want to be honest. Still, symbols form whether we ask for them or not. The clip is now embedded in playlists titled Women Who Didn't Back Down. It sits alongside other moments of quiet defiance. Not explosive. Not chaotic. Just unwavering. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, a subtle shift occurs. The conversation around women, power, and tone starts to change. Not loudly. Not all at once. But perceptibly. Joy senses it too. During a later interview about her long career, she's asked what's changed most in television. She pauses. The audience, she says. They expect more now. It's a small admission. But it matters. Because the clash with Rihanna didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. It lingered, in boardrooms, in comment sections, in private reflections. It forced a reckoning, not with one question or one answer, but with the assumptions beneath them. And as the moment continues to echo, one truth becomes harder to ignore. This wasn't about winning an argument. It was about redefining who gets to speak, how they are heard, and what strength looks like when it refuses to ask for permission. The final chapter of this story isn't on a studio couch. It's unfolding everywhere else. The aftermath doesn't arrive all at once. It settles slowly, like dust after something heavy has fallen. Weeks later, the clip still circulates, but now it's accompanied by reaction videos, long captions, stitched commentary. People aren't just watching anymore, they are processing. In the studio audience on a later taping of The View, there's a different energy. Quieter, more attentive. When Joy speaks, people listen carefully, not out of loyalty or hostility, but awareness. Every word feels weighed now, measured against that moment she didn't expect to define a season of her career. Joy herself feels the shift. She doesn't say it out loud, but she feels it in the pauses, in the glances, in the way certain questions are framed before they ever reach the table. She's still sharp, still opinionated, still Joy Behar. But something subtle has changed. The certainty that once carried her through every debate now shares space with reflection. Rihanna, meanwhile, has moved on publicly, but not without leaving a mark. At a concert weeks later, between songs, she speaks briefly to the crowd. Not about the show. Not about Joy. Just one line, delivered calmly. Never let anyone convince you that your confidence is a flaw. The crowd roars. Phones rise. The clip goes viral within hours. Entertainment reporters tie it back to the interview immediately. Commentators debate whether it's intentional. Rihanna never clarifies. She doesn't need to. The message lands exactly where it's meant to. Online, the conversation evolves. The tone shifts from outrage to introspection. People begin asking harder questions, not just about Joy, or Rihanna, or The View, but about themselves. About how often confidence is policed. About who gets grace and who gets labeled difficult. A popular late-night host jokes about the moment, calling it the calmest verbal uppercut daytime TV has ever seen. The audience laughs, but the applause lingers a second longer than usual. Joy watches that clip too. In a rare, unguarded moment during a long-form interview months later, she's asked about moments that challenged her perspective. She pauses longer than usual. The silence stretches. Sometimes, she says carefully, you think you're asking questions. And then you realize you're really confronting something you didn't fully understand. It's not an apology, but it's not deflection either. Viewers notice. Rihanna hears about the comment through friends. She nods when told, not triumphant, not vindicated, just calm. Growth looks different on everyone, she says. The audience reaction to the original moment never fully fades. Fans still debate it in comment sections. Some insist Joy was right to push. Others say Rihanna exposed an old double standard on a modern stage. The truth, as always, lives somewhere in the tension between those positions. But what can't be denied is impact. That exchange becomes a reference point in media discussions. A case study. A reminder that live television still matters because it reveals people as they are. Not scripted, not filtered, not prepared for how deeply a moment might resonate. And in that sense, no one really won. What happened was something rarer. A boundary was drawn without shouting. A challenge was met without cruelty. A room full of people, and millions watching, were were forced to sit with discomfort instead of laughing it away. The final image viewers remember isn't raised voices or dramatic exits. It's Rihanna sitting upright, composed, refusing to bend. And Joy, for just a moment, unsure of how to respond. That pause said more than any argument ever could. Now it's your turn. Did Rihanna cross a line? Or did she finally draw one? Was Joy doing her job, or confronting a standard that no longer holds?